Yeah, I think it's important to just make sure you're holding the, like, good units, right? I think the story weaver units are certainly good. It's also, I guess, this is an important thing too, and you want to pause for a second and talk about it. Is just understanding like where the units send you, right? So like when you spy story river units, you have to be really aware that that sends you in a very specific direction, right? It's going to be a lot harder to play Ash out of that or to play Kane out of that than it is to play like Kaisa out of that or like the Sage Silas stuff, right? And so part of like stage one as well, you should be also looking around what to see what units people are holding, and also what components they're getting, right? So that you can understand like because if you see someone holding like Garen pair, Sivir pair, more than likely, and it looks like it's labeled Link Shadow, so you probably play Kai'Sa this game. Just looking at your board on stage one here, I would say you're probably playing some kind of either Kai'Sa thing or some kind of Sage thing, because I'd say Sage because you have tier, right? So it's a little more sagey, but you like Shojin Kai'Sa's fine, and you have Garen pair and Sivir and Teemo on bench. So more than likely, like looks like some kind of mana item on a Teemo on stage two with Kale, and then you just ride that to 8, and then you play something that like naturally transitions out of that, which again more than likely does look like Kai'Sa or Sivir. Just as much as you can say, like if someone's holding, if someone has Kha'Zix pair, Malphite pair, and a Darius too, they're Kane every game, right? Even if they're not like that obvious with it, if they're just like Darius pair or like a 1-star Darius with like Kai'Sa or with like Kha'Zix 2 and like a Malphite pair, they're probably still playing towards Kane Lee because again, you need to latch on whatever like small resource you get on stage 1 and 2 because you can't hit D. And so understanding like what units to hold on stage 1 is so important because like the 2 costs, like Senna, for example, I feel like she's very rarely worth even like considering right now to hold on stage 1 because one, she's really expensive to upgrade, and two, like she's not that good without being upgraded, and she requires like a decent board around her. She's really good on stage 3 when she gets that, but like who's hitting D to get that, right?
Yeah.
I guess you did in that game before, but it didn't
Yeah,
work out
it
super well.
didn't.
So like the 1 costs that are really good, again, like the Garens of the world, the Sivers of the world, maybe like a 1-star 2 costs that are good, or like Narn, kind of, not really, but like Teemo is a really good 2 cost. Zyra's really good 2 cost. Like all the heavenly units with like a Darius, obviously. So just being hyper aware of like where your units are sending you as well is good because then you say like, okay, well maybe me is like I have tier cloak. I probably don't want to play. I don't want to hold heavenly units this, right? Even if you have like Melphite 2 offered to you, maybe you don't worry about it, or maybe you're willing to sell it for econ because you know that it can't lead you towards what holds your items later in the game. So that's just a quick aside and a big part of like what stage 1 should be right now, because it's just a little bit of a shit show in terms of what is playable. So you have to be really aware of where you're
Yeah,
going to be sent,
makes
because
sense.
those transitions can be hard, right? Like if you're just like trying to transition from Storyweaver into like Kane, you're missing like all the
Yeah.
heavenly shitters. The big thing too is that like actually we'll do Augment first before I guess I get into it.
So I'm generally looking for some, since I'm not strong right now, something that's probably better late game,
Yep,
which out of
that's a
these
really good
is one
idea.
of the first two.
Sounds
This is
sounds
loot
good.
subscription, I think.
Yes,
And
I
so
think
this is where
it's
I'm
worth.
like,
I
yeah.
do think it's worth waiting 1 turn and trying to get a Storyweaver spat or like a Heavenly spat or like a Fortune spat off of that probably because you can play if you
Mm,
play your
they were,
because your board on 2-1 probably is like Garen, Sivir, Teemo, Riven, right? You probably level and just play that and don't worry about the 1 cost odds. And
mhm,
so I think 1 turn on that gives you a better chance to hit because if you hit Fortune spat or you hit Storyweaver spat, your game's pretty easy. Just
yeah.
generally speaking, right? So you probably do want to look for that, and you already you're probably slamming Shojin here no matter what, and so, it's just a like Shojin works in both of those things and it helps your board quite a bit. I'm assuming you're taking Shadow Spat here because it's also, labeling Shadow. I think it's correct taking Shadow Spat here. It depends on what your ink Shadow is, I guess, but 7 ink Shadow is
It's
very
Tattoo of
good.
Toxin.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's still very good. I actually I did play the Vitality. I don't know if you've seen the Vitality Tattoo Irelia tech, where like you go like Warmog's Vitality Tattoo on Irelia.
Uh-huh.
It's actually insane. I played it the other day. I did like hard one out. I was like 1 HP on 9, like the whole game playing towards like Irelia with Warmog's Vitality rune, and it was it was so broken. I like the amount of damage that shit does. It literally I think it goes through every single unit like 6 times, and it procs Vitality rune every single time. So like most of her
Is this
damage is just
stable
good
on
defense.
Aurelia 1?
It was, yeah. It was very stable in Irelia 1.
Oh,
I had to have frontline though upgraded for what it's worth. I had like Volibear
right.
2, I think, and like a 2-star 4 cost maybe my frontline, but that's to say that it's pretty good if you have Vitality Rune. So I think you can click this, even if it is Vitality Rune, just like understanding that that's what you would play towards the situation is
Yeah.
important. But I would definitely wait 1 turn. because you want to play around what you have ideally, and that does make it easier to do with the Storyweaver stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and also if you'll send, I didn't pick up the Senna in the first, the previous round. I
I will
did
say
get two
actually like
Aatrox.
the
Oh no, it
yeah, that's a nice
was
shot for that.
protection. No.
Oh, okay. As far as the like the stuff about like the comps, understanding like what a comp really wants to succeed, the Kale comp really love support items because it's all about getting value on Kale, right? So your augment's actually really good for trying to play for vertical Storyweaver. So just a little thing to keep in mind
Mm,
that like this would have been like a really insane spot if you did get Storyweaver spot for Storyweaver because you have that support item coming in eventually, and your Kale could get like really good, like really massive. It's really hard to slam something here, right? It's like very difficult.
yeah, yeah. The items are awkward, although with tattoo protection, and I think with this probably mid game, I'm thinking I'm playing Ghostly, so then just planning tank items is what I was thinking.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. I do think your next in is definitely Teemo here, so like looking for Shojin is fine. So you're trying to like potentially play up Shojin on the Teemo there. It's definitely tough to put on now. I would definitely I would recommend not doing this here probably. I know you want to win. I think you win anyways probably, and also again that the direction thing gets really hard now because I guess you can just go like you can just go Shojin now if you want, but like you don't want to go Shojin Sivir. You can go Deathblade and just like go Deathblade Kaisa, I guess, but I think like Shojin plus like cloak into a talent item is probably a little bit better. It's not terrible. I mean, this isn't terrible. It's just I think it's a little bit more awkward to play around. Not that like you're playing Shadow either way, I guess, right? Is
Yeah.
the big thing. So it's like you have a lot of options regardless. I do think Aatrox is a little bit better than the Senna because a lot
Oh,
of your value right now is just
yeah,
on
yeah.
getting making Garen just kill things because you know she's not really doing it. Like Senna's not really doing any more damage than like Aatrox anyways. So just getting that extra damage is good. Making money here is great as well. Just making sure that you're getting econ. It's the name of the game.
Yeah, I was surprised I streaked with this board.
I mean, people are playing boards that honestly it's like pretty easy to sneak a streak right now because people are not playing boards
That's
the
true.
game.
Unless they get
Uh,
the, unless you come across the Darius too.
yeah. If you have the Darius player, you're like, oh shit. Darius won the last whisper. You'd think it'd be pretty bad. I bet it actually kind of pumps. All right, this one does look pretty bad. That's good. That's good. Darius won with last whisper shouldn't do anything. That's really nice. That's good to see. I will say the other sleeper unit to hold items in the not Yone line, the Kane Lee line is Kiana 2 with like double healing item like BT
Mm,
Hodge is insane through the mid game. So
yeah.
just another thing to keep in mind for that whole subset of things. Nice. I mean, Deathblade looks really good. Imagine it probably looks like Deathblade Bramble here.
Yes. So with the spat, I'm thinking ghostly, but probably damage more important than more ghostly right now.
Yeah, I'd say damage is definitely more important. Yeah, I think that's definitely correct to do. At the end of the day, this bag like could be fawn. It's a loot subscription, right? So like you can probably get a fawn or something potentially. Maybe not. Who knows? I would be sure to like really scout out your matchups there and make sure you need to level because again, like playing aggressively here can punish you a lot because now you're kind of poor. You are
Yeah.
win streaking still, obviously, which is really nice, and the all free here looks like really good as well potentially. But if you didn't need that Caitlyn to level up to win that fight or to win one of your 3 fights, then you should pretty much never do that in this patch because that will punish you so much more. And not that you should do it on any other patch too if you win the 3 fights, but like even more this patch, that money is really important.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Young Wild and Free seems like the best augment yet here at silver level.
Yep. Yeah, it seems really insane. I think the big thing to keep in mind too for how your game's gonna go is that you kind of need to get to 9 as well, right? Like you need to hit Kaisa 2 and you need to also get to 9 to hit Udyr because the way you win this game or the way you have a good game in general is 7 Ink Shadow for sure. That guy's double story reverse spat. Are we gonna see a 10 story reverse spat KO this game?
We'll see.
Oh no. That's
Yeah, loot
the fact
subscription, you end up with some really weird
yeah, you do.
games.
You definitely do. For what it's worth, I think it's like a really good decision in this game. Like I think selling Bramble there and just like making Deathblade and Bow and making sure you're strong right now is really smart because already you can tell that people have like insane win up potential. Like that Storyweaver guy has insane win up potential, and not that
Hmm.
you don't necessarily have insane win up potential, but I would say like 7 Ink Shadows win up potential is like significantly less than something like 10 Storyweaver, obviously. So if you don't have,
Yep.
if you're not the one hitting like the Giga Nuts and you have a lot of HP, you might as well just play a little bit more aggressively. Again, generally with slamming items, what that means, because you still need the gold to make sure that you top 4. Slamming items is going to be the way you find that edge.
hmm So here I was thinking Even Shroud or Red Buff. I feel like the bow that I have could already become Last Whisper, but I guess that could become Red Buff as well. So, but I don't have another good tank for Even Shroud, so I'm picking Red Buff.
Yeah, red buff here I think is the best item for sure. For the exact reason you said. That you don't really have tank
Okay.
Demon Shroud, and you can just make Last Whisper potentially, right? It's like Last Whisper GS is
hmm
totally fine as well. It can be an Ash game technically. And you go like Rage Blade, Red Buff or something. It's so funny watching stage 3 this patch, because like there's like so little to see. Obviously, like the item
Yeah.
conversations I think this game are certainly like a point that you find some edge in. Like I think again, you like some of your items was very good there, but a lot of the decisions you make this stage won't do a ton for the game. Yeah, that's awesome. I see here is great.
Yeah. So if I didn't have to see the Kaiser, I probably would have gone Glove for the Last Whisper or maybe Sword for the Ghostly spat.
Yep, that sounds good. Yeah, I think you're totally fine sitting on this spat for a while instead of trying to like force anything on it with it right now.
Yeah. And then here, I was trying to decide between Virtue seems like okay, because I'm going to be like, I already have a bunch of tank items and then with Ghostly, you just want, well, you want a lot of sustain in the mid game, right?
Yeah.
Randuin is like more tanky, but then Zizura, I feel like just has the best stats.
Oh, does it? Actually,
I
I don't
think
know what the
it's,
stats are on support items, but I'd say Randuin's or Virtue here are like super, super good. Since they nerfed Zero, I haven't been super happy with taking. I think that the big thing to keep in mind with this board and why you really want to go Randuin's or Virtue is that so Ink Shadow is a pretty it's surprisingly Vertical Ink Shadow is actually a pretty selfish trait. Obviously the items can go on anyone, but they get a lot of damage reduction and damage amp. And so getting more value on your Ink Shadow units is really, really important, right? So something like Ash, let's say, for example, where let's say like you're playing like an Ash flex board where you basically just need like Rage Blade on Ash and a bunch of frontline. Something that's easier out there is pretty good because who knows how much quality your units are. Obviously, you're probably playing 4 costs, so they're pretty high quality. But let's say like you weren't. Let's say you're playing a bunch of like random 2 or 3 cost frontliners or whatever. Zero becomes very good because it's just generically going to be a big frontliner that buys you more time, right? It doesn't rely on your units being higher quality or units having stuff from other sources. And where something like Randuin's and Virtue of the Martyr are really good in situations. This is true for like Banshees as well, right? If you're playing like the Giga Chad, like melee unit stuff. But like Randuin's and Virtue of the Martyr are really good when you have a lot of value pumped into a unit already. So when you're playing 7 Ink Shadow and all those units are getting 20% damage reduction and damage amp, those stats get way, way, way better, right? So basically a comp like this, you basically just want to make sure that you are getting as much value pumped into as well. Like extra items are actually insane in Ink Shadow because getting an extra items on like getting a fully itemized like Udi or 2 with 7 Ink Shadow or like getting to itemize your Kaisa completely or like your Volibear even completely gives you so much extra value when you have that much stuff pumped in from your trait, right? Because a trait that just says everything gets 20% damage reduction and damage amp is still pretty good, even if it's still very good actually, even if it doesn't give you the items. And so the items are like, there's certainly a thought to be had, but with Vertical Ink Shadow, maybe with like 3, right? The 5% is like kind of whatever. But with 7, the number is so big that you definitely want to play around that.
Okay. Yeah. It's like our discussion previously about wardens at the beginning of the start.
Yep.
It's like
Yeah,
giving your
Withers.
whole team wardens.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah, it
So
literally
then
is. Yeah.
with that in mind, it seems like Randuin's might be slightly better with, especially with the tattoo of protection with the extra shield. Randuin takes advantage of that more.
Yep. Yeah, I think randoms would be your best option here. If you don't want to have to give up, like if you see like there's a lot of stuff you want to position around this game, like if there's like 16 people looking to play Nautilus, if I don't know if you could tell that at this point, but let's say there were, right? Maybe Virtue would be better, but I think Randuin's is going to be your best option here by a pretty large margin.
Okay. Yeah, I was really indecisive and I didn't even get the Z0 down, and I don't know if that was the fight tiff, but that felt bad.
It doesn't look like it. Yeah, it doesn't quite look like it. That guy was strong as heck.
Yeah, that
I
was
do think you
another
win that on
situation where
Randuin's though, for it's worth.
oh, okay. Yeah, I leveled, and so now I'm poor, and I lost.
That's why it's really hard to like. I think this is the 3-1 biting you in the ass a little bit, right? You lost a lot of gold from that, and now The game's like, hey,
Mhm.
remember that time you spent all that money on stage 3? Because you do need to get to 9. You need to get to 9 at some point in this game if you really want to cap out, and it's gonna be really hard now, I would say. A loot subscription might come through
Mhm.
though. We might just get like infinite cash from it. Alrighty. So this is definitely an awkward spot because the thing is with like you want to go fast-ish 9, but you still need to make sure your board is really strong on stage. Like your board is like really strong on level 8, right? So this is the kind of thing where okay, they just got another story over spat, right? So we will see 10 story over Kale.
Probably. I actually don't remember, but that sounds like a thing.
I think here's
But
my
yeah,
thought.
here's Ghostly seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, I think it does make the most sense. I think you can go Ghostly, Warden, or Altruist, but I think Ghostly and Warden make the most sense, and Ghostly makes more sense than Warden.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm assuming you probably make Last Whisper. I'm guessing. I guess you can make like Even Shroud and sit on the item as well if you want, but I'd imagine this probably ends up being a Last Whisper.
Yeah. And then the other thing I was thinking is now that I could potentially have 2 Ghostly spats, like, is 7 Ink Shadow better or is 8 Ghostly better? I wasn't sure.
It's a good question. I think it's probably 7 Ink Shadow because there's just so much lacking unit quality in. I guess there's not lacking unit quality in 7 Ink Shadow if you're playing at Jax, but I don't know. I would say whatever
Especially if I could
more
get
units
a
somewhere.
King 2.
Yeah. And if you do manage to find a Kane 2 somehow, for sure. I would say basically it's going to depend on what you hit, what units you hit, whether you hit the Kanes and the Morganas or whether you hit the Kaisas and the Udyr, the single Udyr. It's going to be what's upgraded as well. Like you don't have Shen 2, I think, which is a big potential issue for trying to play Vertical Ghostly because you definitely need them all upgraded to make that work. Yeah, I think it's not like there's a right answer there. I think it's just going to depend on what you end up seeing. I think Inspiring Epitaph is fine here as well. I think that's a great option.
And then to your point
Oh,
earlier that I need to get to 9, I was like, since I was pretty healthy and I'm not really going for the same 4 cost units, I was just like, I'll wait until 4-5 to go in.
yeah, I think that's reasonable here. I think you probably in a perfect world would still try to 4-2 it, but I think the like 3-1 aggressive play ended up hurting you quite a bit. If you streak all of
Mhm.
stage 3, then I think it's fine. Honestly, if you streak all of stage 3, you might be able to just fast 9 from this spot without rolling on 8 at all, just because like you're still pretty stable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that definitely hurts you a bit.
So here I was looking for Sword for Ghostly Spat. I
Yep, makes a lot of
think I
sense.
have like most of my items.
Yeah, I think
And
you can
then and
definitely
then
look
I'm
for.
like, mhm.
Yeah, you definitely. I think you can look for either or here. Like you can play 5 Ink Shadow, 6 Ghostly as well. I think is like a time like a pretty fine out if you just want to make sure you're top fouring as well like this. If you hit a lot of the upgraded Ghostly units, or you can definitely play 6 Ghosts or like 8 Ghostly. I do think I guess the big thing with this situation, and this is the important part of stage 4, is that you need to be scouting here to make sure what people are doing and how strong people are. Because there's a world where you probably want to roll here. You kind of destroy this guy, so you're fine. But if someone's like Kaisa 2, not Kaisa 2, I guess, but like Ash 2, Nautilus 2 or something, you're probably losing to them. So just to be aware
Mhm.
of that. But it worked out. Oh, it's pretty good. Always one front line, right? Imagine you look for Warmogs here.
Yeah. I guess items for Kaisen. Well,
Yeah, I think you
I'm eventually
actually
gonna move it over.
I think you actually want to look for Lysandra items here, believe it or not. Like, I think you
Oh,
probably want to go Warmog's open tier on Lysandra because she is just so broken that you probably play her the whole game now.
really? Okay.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how
I
many
was
Ghostly
not
you're playing.
thinking
'Cause
that.
sometimes she can like mess with Ghostly and make it kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But if you're playing like 7 Ink Shadow, which I think is still like a very, very good option here where you're missing Shen too. I mean, you could play 6 Ghostly 7 Ink Shadow, I guess. That's totally fine too if you want to do that. Thinking about it. But basically you just want to make sure that you're playing on unit quality because a lot of this patch is just like how high quality can your units be, or like how insane of a vertical synergy can you play, I guess. But unit quality is definitely a big part of that. And even if you went Shojin, right? If you have like Shojin on Lysandra here, or like I guess you didn't hit Shojin, but I think you do probably want to go Shiv there if you're planning to play around at least 6. If you like or 6 or more Ghostly, Shiv is really good because
Yeah. Forgot about that.
the old Kane 2 Heavenly, we love that. Oh, we take those. Nice. Yeah, trick shot's really important, so that's great that you're getting it in now. You look very strong now. Look at you, you can be very strong.
I missed one ink shadow here.
That's okay. Imagine you're just looking for Udyr, right? Ideally. I mean, obviously, you can
Yeah.
play Volibear here, but Udyr is definitely a great in.
And then by
Of course,
default now, I'm just like holding for 3-star 4-cost outs.
yeah, that's very smart. That's very, very smart. I think in general you played right. I think the stage 3 thing hurt you a bit, but I think you played like late stage 3, stage 4 stuff really well. I do think like you want to make sure you are scouting first to make sure that like you can sit there or like you can decide not to roll, but it worked out really well this game to decide not to. So like your recognition from your own spot was really good. Just want to make sure that you are also keeping in mind what other people's spots are when making that decision. Kiana 3. That 8 duelist
Yeah.
Kiana 3. Holy. All right, this guy just said, yeah, the whole thing about 4 costs, forget about it. Are there going to be 9 Umbral? Oh my. I
Yeah,
think like TG
this
Kane
lobby
is
was
the
nuts.
yeah. The Loon description can get so wild. I imagine everything you're right. TG Kane with Fury Rune on the or Fury's thing on the Zaya.
Think so. Unless I forgot that I could move. Okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I do think you probably just like you probably go Fury plus tattoo on the Zaya here. I think you definitely do need to keep rolling in this spot. I think this is a spot where rolling is obviously you're not sure exactly how strong the lobby is here, but you have so much to hit that I think you definitely
Yeah.
should look to roll.
I get a lot stronger on just the here.
Yeah, because like I think a lot of this patch that can bait people is that people try to go 10 a lot right now, but and they try to like greed money to hit for the 3-star 4 cost. But you're much better. Like the best way to hit the Kaisa 3 here is just not being dead in like a stage, right? Nice, yeah, that's definitely better. But yeah, I think you can like totally just roll the 0 in this situation.
Okay.
And now that you don't have Shiv as well, I think you can totally just play. Actually, what ghostlies can you even drop? Maybe I was just thinking you can drop down to 4 ghostly, but I think one of them had to be Kane, right? Which maybe you don't drop Kane.
Yeah, I'd have to drop Malawi
Maybe
and
Kane.
probably.
Yeah.
Or no,
Malawi
Shen.
Kane. Oh yeah, okay. I could see that being because you have the Ornn. I guess that'd
Yeah.
actually be fine probably if you wanted to do that. But the Kane 2 is decent. It kind of depends on what TG he rolls, honestly, how good he'll be. But he is a 4 cost, so you know. Yeah, I think I imagine you're trying to go 10 here. I might be wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you
Maybe I was just greeding too much to like have more gold to hit Kaisa 3.
oh, Mike, yeah, it could be that too. I think this is a spot again where you just want to be rolling. Like lobby HP is you'll get more placements on average rolling here than you will by trying to greed it out. And then like again, you'll hit even like the thing is there's so many forecasts gone with everyone alive that you kind of want to roll while everyone's still alive as well. Not that anyone died that turn,
Oh,
but
yeah.
because if they all start dying, then all those forecasts go back in the pool and it becomes really hard to hit. Okay.
Yeah, I ran out of places to. I was like, oh no. I need to sell the cane. I probably should have thought through that before I started
That's
rolling.
okay. That's a little dizzying.
And that was one off Kaisa 3 too. I didn't even remember that was the
Oh, you ended up not hitting the Kaisa. That's okay.
And these tattoos are like, I didn't plan for where the tattoos would go either. It's just like useless on the Morgana.
I think that just goes back to one of our previous conversations about like making sure that you do all the thinking before you get into the turn where you're doing the rolling, right? Because like you again, like on 4-1 there, you can plan all that out. I mean, honestly, not a terrible fourth either, right? I think I think that's just a good example of like you would save a lot more placements by rolling sooner. Because if you roll if you roll and hit like Udyr or something on stage 4 or on stage 5 there, you're probably hitting someone harder or you're winning a fight you would have lost. And same with early stage, like 6-1, if you roll, you're winning a fight you wouldn't have, or you're hitting someone harder than you would have. And then, this fourth turns into like a guaranteed top 2. And your chance of hitting Kaisa 3 is not that much worse because you're only making like an extra, like maybe like 7 or 8 gold, which is a decent amount of gold, obviously. But again, the best way to hit Kaisa 3 is just to be alive, is the big thing.
Yeah, if I just survived one more round, I definitely would have had top 3 or top 2 for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of that game though. Again, you played I think you played the stage 4 spot really well. I think the 2 parts that hurt you a bit was being too greedy on level 9, which again is a problem that's like very easy to trap is very easy to fall into this patch because I mean everyone wants the giga cap, and you'll see so many people go 10 and then just die, and because like level 9 is often good enough, right? Even for 3-starring 5, I hit a 3-star Irelia I think the other day or something, and it was that shit was on 9. Like, you don't need
Hmm.
the level 10 odds for, like, anything really. Um, and
Okay.
then the other thing was playing a little over aggressive on stage 3 when you didn't have to, because, if you
Hmm.
felt you had to level there, I think it's okay. If you thought, like, for sure you'd win if you leveled, but be aware that if you level and you lose, your game's, like, kind of totally over, and if you level and you win, your game is still not it's, like, still risky. If you I would only level only God, I would only ever level there to win if I also thought I could then win the rest of the stage, because you
Hmm.
need all that extra money to come back into it, and you just save a bunch of extra HP as well. But if I thought I was gonna if I thought that I would win that fight, but then lose to someone else later in the stage, like there was someone who was really strong in the lobby, I would not level there, and I would just say like, okay, maybe I win 2 out of 3 matchups here, and if I lose, then it's okay because I still have my money. I'm still like kind of strong, and then I just get to level 8 with a little bit more gold.
Okay. Yeah, I think in that situation, I was only looking at my pool. So I should be scouting my pool and the rest of the lobby.
Yep.
I think
Yeah,
it's
if you
here.
you only level there this patch, if you are going to be the strongest person in the lobby for sure. Which, I mean, I could totally see you being, by the way, because you were very strong. I
Yeah.
think that just ended up being a support item diff more than likely, as in like you maybe if you slammed the easier, I would have been the diff, and then also the random ones I think would have for sure won that fight in late stage 3.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So high level summary, over aggressive in stage 3. Need to preserve more gold there, which probably would have allowed me to go to 9 more comfortably. The stage 4 was good. And then the other big thing is in state or like in the end game when I was doing the big roll down here and then I hit the Udyr, I wasn't ready to actually do the transition.
Yeah,
Like
you want to be
making sure I know who I'm placing items on where, especially with all the tattoos, like just making sure I plan out all that in my head in
yep.
advance as opposed to
Yeah,
scrambling.
for sure, when you have like shadow spat the whole game too, you should have a very good idea of where those tattoos want to be when you get to that spot. I think the big thing, right, was
Mhm.
like you just were a little too greedy on level 9, trying to go 10 and try. You had to go 10, right? You just ended up rolling down, but you were a little too greedy
Yeah.
playing for the win out, and so you lost a couple places for that. Where again, like I think you still can very easily hit Kaisa 3 by rolling earlier. Because for example, right, if you roll with like let's say you like hit 10 less gold total from econ intervals that you miss, but Darth Noob and whoever's in 7th is alive as you roll, and they're both playing a bunch of 2-star 4 costs. I think your odds to hit are actually better still, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So rolling while everyone's alive
And
is
even right
actually
now,
doubly effective.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really think about that. And I still had 4 gold and a bunch of gold on my bench, like overall to try to hit
Yeah,
Kaisa
definitely could have
3.
kept hitting T's. Well, I mean, it is a dizzying spot though. For like that whole roll down in one turn is definitely hard to do. This is
Yeah.
another thing too, where it's like, if there was a TFT AI, sure they roll on 5-2 or 6-3 here, or like 6-2 or whatever. Humans should probably roll on 6-2 or 6-1 always, because that extra life is really important for accounting for the dizzy factor. That is pretty much always going to be
Mhm.
there, right? It will pretty much always be there, no matter how good you are. You will get dizzy at some point on giant rolldowns.
Yeah. So in hindsight, looking at the tattoos, it should be probably bombardment and
Yeah,
then
you don't wanna take
vitality
Lunance this
and
game, is the big thing.
yeah. So
Because like,
vitality and fury on Udyr.
well, I think what it is it's probably Fury in it's either like in Shadow Spat on Kaisa, and then you either either have, like, TG, Kane, and then Ink Shadow Spat, Bombardment, Rageblade, Xayah, or you have where, like, right now with Ink Shadow Spat on Morg, you then have because you do want Ink Shadow Spat on Kaisa ideally, or sorry, not Kaisa, Xayah, because it is just a lot of stats as it when you're on 7. But here you probably wanna go Rageblade, Fury Rune, Bombardment, Xayah, and just never take the Rune Ends. I forget what if you were just like
Mhm.
last pick on carousel, but because you have bombardment coming in, the third Xayah item is not valuable in that situation because you know that as soon as you find Udyr, you're just on bombardment, and then that also makes you want to roll earlier to get that right. So you end up getting like a tank item or something
Right.
if it's presented to you, and then it's like vitality rune, protection rune, Udyr or something like that, or he's just Udyr. He does his thing, so he can hold whatever the hell he wants basically. But yeah, you do have vitality rune, so you could totally play Irelia 1 on this board, and she would pop.
Yeah.
Not that, like
Wait, even without
it
like Ormogs,
yeah. Yeah, if you get Irelia 2, she will, like, just kill everything, but if you get Irelia 1, she probably still does a lot of damage, even without the Warmogs.
would it be worth taking out Ghostly for that?
Good question. How did I actually have so you end up getting off the how did you actually get 2 Ghostly off your oh, you took off Alawi, okay. I see. Um, yeah, and honestly, at this point, like I think 4 Ghostly isn't super impactful. I think you could totally drop Morg for it, and it's a better board. Because it gives you something like even better to put the
Mhm.
Vitality Rune on. Maybe if you don't 2-star, you don't do that. Like on this board, you just play like Fury Rune plus Vitality Rune on the Aurelia plus Ink Shadow Spat or something, and then she will probably just dunk on everyone. But 4 Ink Shadow works as well. If you are 4 Ghostly rather works as well. It's just little things to keep in mind. Like if you that's to say that you don't have to do that, but like if you were hitting Aurelias, it would be something you want to keep in mind because it is another out. It's just an important thing to make sure that you are recognizing like all of the little this is true for like level 8 roll downs as well, right? The little things that you could do to like get extra
Mhm.
wish replacements, but
And in the ideal case, I guess I always thought about Ink Shadow as damage reduction. It does damage amp too, right?
yeah, it's 20% damage reduction in damage am. So it's actually really good in your backline as well.
Okay, so ideally, I would want what Ink Shadow, Guinsoo, and like Bombardment on Zaya.
Yep. Yeah, I think that and then you go Fury Vitality on your some mythical Irelia or on your Udyr is fine too.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep. And then you can just put the tank items on like Aatrox.
Is there an alternate world since I did hit the King too, where it would have made sense to go 8 Ghostly in hindsight?
I think it's depends on like whether you upgrade everything and also I think you never had Shen 2, so I think 7 like, the thing is they have to be, like, kind of tanky to actually get their ghosts off at this point in the game, right? Like,
Right.
Shen 1 probably won't even get his ghosts out before he dies to, like, some kind of big AoE. Maybe he will, I'm not super sure. I think the unit quality of Ink Shadow is just higher for what it's worth, so I think it's just the
Mhm.
better synergy. But if the lobby was such where, like, there was a giant Giga Tank Galio or, like, maybe, like the Lee Sin Kane player, then 8 Ghosty has a better matchup because you just get to blow them up, right? So it's probably a matchup dependent thing. Assuming you hit everything on both lines, then it's a matchup dependent thing on whether or not you want to punish like front to back players.
Makes sense. Yeah, and in hindsight too, the Randuins here would have been so good.
Would have been so good, right? Just because again, they all get so much
Yeah.
damage amp and damage reduction as well. Like your Udyr and your Orn doesn't have Ink Shadow Spat on him, I guess.
And the
But
double
like,
horn too.
yeah, it would have been pretty wild. And you have the Rage Blade as well to complement the like ramping win condition as well.
Yeah.
You also have Epitaph, which
Okay.
gives them a big HP shield on top of that, so, like, even more value from the
Mhm.
resistances. So, it would've been very, very good. I think that was maybe the other, like, big thing that ended up hurting you this game was not was it was not recognizing how Ink Shadow wants to win, I guess, right? And that they wanna just, like, get as many stats as they can on these units that just get a bunch of value from the synergy for some reason, because it does so much. 20% damage range damage jam is insane. So good.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Helpful
Sweet.
as usual. I appreciate it.
Of course. Best of luck on the rest of the patch. This patch is a journey, so
Yeah.